after.
Other defense attorneys show up. All right, it is 2 o'clock. We are on the record. We are live streaming on YouTube. Madam Clerk, all of the folks in this area have been sworn, right?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, folks. You all are here for your first appearance. You have the right to an attorney. If you have a private attorney, then please tell me that when we call your name. If you'd like the public defender, then I will appoint one to represent you. When we call your name, we will advise you of the charge or charges pending against you. I will determine whether there was probable cause for your arrest and address the conditions of your pretrial release. If I issue a no contact order in your case, then you may not have any contact with the individuals listed directly or indirectly. That means you may not contact the individuals listed in any way, shape, or form. And no one else may contact them for you. If I issue a no weapons order in your case, then you must deliver all firearms to the sheriff as a condition of your release. You have the right to remain silent. Everything you say today will be recorded and may be used against you later. All right, we have Mr. Stewart for the State Attorney's Office on the telephone. Mr. Prashur is here for the Public Defender's Office. First up is David Bermudez, violation of state probation on a Whitman Act warrant. Mr. Bermudez, did you apply for a public defender? Who's that? All right, he's not here. So do you want to proceed today without a lawyer? Do you want me to appoint the public defender, or do you want to come back tomorrow so that you have more time to get a hold of Mr. Harris? Completely up to you. All right, this will be a hold and return to 24s tomorrow. See you then. Yes, sir. Ronnie Bishop, violation of an injunction for protection against domestic violence. Mr. Bishop, did you apply for a public defender? Who's your attorney? He is not here today, so would you like to proceed today without a lawyer or come back tomorrow? I'm not sure I understood your answer. Did you say you want to proceed today without him? All right, I've read the paper. Pardon me? All right, I've read the paperwork. I do find probable cause. Do you have any comments on bond? All right, Mr. Stewart, he indicated that he does want to proceed without his attorney. Any comments from you on bond or other conditions of release?
Yes, Judge, I'm asking for $15,000 and GPS to be installed prior to release. The GPS is the request of the victim in the case, and I would note that Mr. Bishop has previously been convicted of violating found injunction back in 2007. That was a different injunction, different victim. He's also been convicted of felony battery in 2009 and in 2012 of battery, second offense or more. So that's the basis for my request.
All right, Mr. Bishop, I've signed a no contact order and a no weapons order. Did you hear me explain those orders just a minute ago?
Yes, I did.
Do you understand them? In addition to that, no trespass at 2 different locations that are marked as confidential. They are on the order, GPS prior to release, and $15,000 bond. Thank you, sir. Miguel Espinoza actually bonded, I believe. All right. Thank you. Harley Lemaine, charged with possession of paraphernalia. Have you applied for a public defender? All right, public defender is appointed. I've read the paperwork. I do find probable cause. Mr. Persure, any comments on bond? State? All right, bond is $2,000. Thank you, Mr. Lemaine. Bobby Portis is charged with possession of controlled substance, possession of paraphernalia. Mr. Portis, did you apply for a public defender? All right, public defender is appointed. I've read the paperwork. I do find probable cause. Mr. Persure, any comments on bond? State? I'm told he qualifies for pretrial release, and there's room. All right, Mr. Persure, are you asking for that in the alternative? State, any objection? All right, for Mr. Portis, bond on count 1 is $5,000 or pretrial release. Bond on count 2 is $2,000 or pretrial release. Thank you, Mr. Portis. Madam Clerk, you good? All right, thank you. Next up is Mauro Sanchez Aguilar, no valid driver's license. Sir, did you apply for a public defender? All right, the public defender is appointed. I have read the paperwork. I do find probable cause. Mr. Persure, any comments on bond?
Just that we ask for standard.
All right, Mr. Stewart.
Nothing from the state judge.
The bond is $500. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Antonio Tague Paso, charged with battery. Okay, very good. So that's it for you, right? Okay, thank you very much. And Rich, everybody else will be in the next room, right? I think. The two, okay. All right, thank you. All right, hello, NJC. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Is this everybody for 2 o'clock? Okay, will the 5, thank you. Will the 5 of you please stand up and raise your right hand to take an oath?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All right, you may be seated. Thank you. You all are here for your first appearance. You have the right to an attorney. If you have a private attorney, then please tell me that. If you'd like the public defender, then I will appoint one to represent you. When we call your case, we will advise you of the charge or charges pending against you. I will determine whether there was probable cause for your arrest. and address the conditions of your pretrial release.
y le voy a imponer las condiciones para su salida.
If I issue a no contact order in your case,
Si le impongo una orden de no contacto condicional,
then you may not have any contact with the individuals listed directly or indirectly.
entonces no van a poder tener ningún tipo de contacto con las personas en la lista, ni directo ni indirectamente.
That means you may not contact them in any way, shape, or form,
Eso quiere decir que no los van a poder contactar de ninguna forma,
and no one else may contact them for you.
y ninguna otra persona los puede contactar a su nombre.
If I issue a no weapons order in your case,
Si le impongo una orden de no posesión de armas en su caso,
then you must deliver all firearms to the sheriff as a condition of your release.
entonces como condición de su salida debe llevar sus armas a el precinto más cercano.
You have the right to remain silent.
Tiene el derecho de permanecer callado.
Everything you say today will be recorded
Todo lo que diga en el día de hoy puede ser grabado
and may be used against you later.
y podría ser usado en su contra más adelante.
Andrea Campbell. All right, did she have a chance to apply first, to your knowledge? All right, so the public defender is appointed. Mr. Persure, of course, that's contingent upon her qualifications. Would you like to proceed today in her absence? All right, she's here on FTA, possession of a controlled substance, FTA trespass, FTA possession of paraphernalia. I've read the paperwork to find probable cause. Mr. Persure, do you have any comments on bond? State?
I believe the bonds were already set by Judge Manuel, so we just asked for those.
All right, bond on count 1 is 5,000, count 2 is 1,000, count 3 is 1,000. Veronica Colegia, violation. She refused? All right, so is she likely out for 10 to 14 days?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Persure, I would like to appoint your office to represent her just so that she does have representation in the interim. Of course, she still has to fill out the application and qualify. Do you agree? All right, so the public defender is appointed to represent Ms. Colegia. Again, this is a violation of state probation. Her presiding judge has already made a finding of probable cause. Mr. Persure, do you have any comments on bond? State?
Your Honor, I'm going to ask for the no bond, which is in Judge Foster's warrant.
Bond is no bond per the issuing judge. Lauren Doris, FTA on a petty theft. All right. Ms. Doris, have you applied for the public defender? All right, Mr. Persure, are you representing her today?
Yes, Your Honor, and if the court will allow me to.
Sure. You may.
I wanted to relay the plea offer that you have this evening to resolve this case today.
Sure, go ahead.
Good evening, Miss. The plea offer that Ms. A has for you is adjudicated guilty, 6 months probation, ACN misdemeanor program, no trespass at 5th Saxon Avenue, court costs, cost of prosecution, and cost of defense. If you would like, go ahead.
I don't think the opportunity would like to find out on the failure to hear. Because
Correct.
also, and I had court on the 8th, was it the 8th? But I also had my lawyer was gonna take care of for me, and I'm not supposed to be there.
Okay, so would you rather listen to see what the bond is on the FTA?
Yeah, but yeah.
Okay, Mr. Persure, any comments on the bond? State?
Judge, I believe you issued a $2,000 bond, so I'll just ask you to keep that.
And that's what I would do. So the answer to your question is if you don't take the offer, you are correct. You would have the option of bonding out at $2,000.
Yeah, I'll take that, I'll just mark that on that second.
Okay, that's fine. Bond is $2,000. Thank you, ma'am. Crystal Hanson, bonded. All right, thank you. Veronica Lopez is here, approaching. Thank you. Ms. Lopez, you're here on an out-of-county warrant from Hardy County on a violation of state probation. I've read the paperwork. There is probable cause and no bond. Thank you. Madam Clerk, you good? Kayla Potter. She refused, so we will proceed in her absence. Ms. Potter has a petty theft charge. I've read the paperwork. I do find probable cause. Mr. Stewart, any comments on bond?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I've signed a no contact order and no trespass order for the location of this incident, and bond is $2,000. Joel Campbell. He refused, so we will proceed in his absence. He's here on a trespass, an FTA on a trespass. I've read the paperwork. I do find probable cause. Mr. Stewart, any comments on bond?
No, Judge, this is the bond will remain in place.
All right, bond is $2,000. Michael Pilecki. Mr. Oh. All right, let me just announce those charges for the record. Count 1 is trafficking in fentanyl. Count 2 is possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Count 3, possession of amphetamines. Count 4, possession of a controlled substance. Count 5, possession of a controlled substance. Count 6, possession of paraphernalia. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 drug-related offenses. You're making a PC argument on all 4?
That's correct.
Okay, go ahead.
With respect to the drug charges, there are 2 substances, fentanyl and methamphetamine. It doesn't describe the substances, but I would assume there is something that's not packaged like it normally would be, like a prescription drug. What's important to point out is there's nothing to indicate that these drugs had any type of testing done, whether it was field testing, at roadside and or processed at the station. It says that Naples Penn went back to process the narcotics. We do have a waiver, we have no description of them, and we don't have anything indicating that David Bowman, based on his training and experience, was able to identify these narcotics specifically to what they were. In addition, the Suboxone and the Lorazepam, which are pharmaceutical drugs. Pharmaceutical drugs can be identified by a website, drugs.com, or any other based on training experience or any specific indication on the pill or the narcotic itself or wrapping or pill bottles. None of that is in the booking sheet. So my argument is there's no probable cause for those 4 counts based on the deficiencies in the booking sheets, whether it be tested for identification or the officer's training experience.
All right, thank you. Mr. Stewart, response, please.
Well, Judge, seems to be a problem we're running into more often now. I mean, it does say that the items were transported for processing. Obviously, that's not very descriptive. And I guess my argument would be if the court is not comfortable finding probable cause, I would ask for 24 hours for the officer or detective to supplement his report to clarify that these items were tested. As the court knows, they would ordinarily almost always be tested prior to an arrest, and it's probably just the innocent omission from.
Well, just to be clear, it's not, the critical factor here is not my comfort level. Do you agree that there's nothing in the booking sheet that legally would authorize me to make a finding of PC on those 4 counts?
Well, I agree with the problem, Judge, so I would ask for 24 hours to ask the detective to clarify that.
Okay, the request from the state is a 24-hour continuance. Mr. Verderamo.
Judge, I would ask that the court find no probable cause set the bond on the paraphernalia charge as well as the firearm charge. Bond would ensure an appearance in court, and additionally, Mr. Pilecki does have a local address. Now, I can't speak to if there's any better to appearance, but I think bond would be safe, bond at this point would be appropriate.
All right, I'm going to grant the state's request, but I've got a question for you, Mr. Verderamo, before I do that. Do you want to keep all 6 counts together and address them all again tomorrow, or do you want me to address bond on the other 2?
Let's address everything with respect now tomorrow.
So all 6 will be continued for 24 hours. We'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Okay, yes, sir. You too. Okay, Eves Pompoulos. Pompoulos. All right, so he refused to participate. We'll proceed in his absence. Possession of cocaine, possession of paraphernalia. I've read the paperwork. I do find probable cause. Mr. Stewart, any comments on bond?
No, Your Honor.
All right, bond on count 1 is $5,000, $2,000 on count 2. Antonio Tague Paso, battery. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, sir. You're charged with battery.
Buenas tardes, señor. Está acusado de agresión.
Have you applied for a public defender?
Solicitó un asesor de oficio. No lo escucho. It was an argument that I had with my wife, and I didn't get
Hold on, sir. I don't want you to tell me about the facts of the case.
Señor, no me hable de lo que pasó.
Remember what I said earlier.
Recuerdo lo que indiqué anteriormente.
You have the right to remain silent.
Tiene el derecho de permanecer callado.
Everything you say today is being recorded
Todo lo que diga en el día de hoy está siendo grabado
and may be used against you later.
y podría ser usado en su contra más adelante.
All I want to know now is whether you understand the charge.
Todo lo que quiero saber hoy es si entiende el cargo en su contra.
Is that a yes? You can't nod. You can't nod your head. You have to use words.
Tiene que usar palabras.
Do you understand the charge?
¿Entiende los cargos? Yes.
Did you apply for a public defender?
¿Solicitó defensor de oficio? Yes.
All right, the public defender is appointed to represent you.
Se le designa el defensor de oficio para que lo represente.
I've read the paperwork, find probable cause.
Leí su hoja de fichaje y encuentro causa probable.
Mr. Prashore, any comments on bond? State?
Your Honor, based on the facts
Basando
as alleged, and the victim's request, I'm going to ask for GPS monitoring prior to release. Can the court tell me if he has an ISO immigration hold?
Yes, there is an immigration detainer.
Okay, so then my request on the bond amount would be $10,000 based on the facts as alleged and the fact that if he's not a citizen of the United States, that he's a citizen of another country, and that's a flight risk.
Señor de paso, el fiscal está solicitando $10,000 de fianza. Dice que usted no tiene raíces en esta área y que inmigración tiene una orden de detención en su contra.
Your Honor,
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you.
El defensor de oficio dice que usted no posee antecedentes.
Sir, I've signed a no contact order
Señor, firme una orden de no contacto
and a no weapons order.
y de no posesión de armas.
Did you hear me explain those orders a few minutes ago?
Me escuchó hace un ratito cuando expliqué esas órdenes. Yes.
Do you understand them?
¿Las entendió? Yes.
Bond is $10,000.
$10,000 de fianza.
Additional condition is GPS prior to release.
Condición especial. Se le deberá poner un brazalete telemático antes de salir en libertad.
And there is an immigration detainer in this case.
Existe una orden de detención del Departamento de Inmigración en este caso.
Thank you, sir.
Gracias, señor.
Okay, NJC, I think the last case is Baga, and we'll take that case when you tell me your courtroom is clear. Thank you.
Your Honor, if we could, if I could ask him if he signed the books in the paper.
Do you need a minute with him off?
I just need to ask if he signed.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Sir, did you sign the motion paperwork?
Yes.
Okay, then we would like to also waive him in formal reading. We have no objection to the finding of probable cause. By standard bond relates to the bond.
Okay, and I may do all of those things and waive those things if he's applied for your services. So let me ask him a couple of questions first.
Yes, sir.
And first of all, NJC, I'm sorry, did you say your courtroom is clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, very good, thank you. Richard Baga, first of all, sir, have you applied for a public defender?
No, Your Honor.
You were looking at someone else, and you would know that if you've applied. Do you want to apply for a public defender?
I'm going to have a private attorney for
know who it is?
I haven't reached out to him yet, Your Honor.
All right, so you've got a decision to make here. You've got a few different options. I can appoint a public defender to represent you today, and then we can proceed if you want to. Or we can proceed today without a lawyer, or we can come back tomorrow if you want more time to hire a private defense attorney. Completely up to you. Do you understand those options?
Yes, I do. I do, Your Honor. May I ask, does it make a difference if somebody's here to represent us?
Well, I can't give you legal advice. I can just explain your options to you.
I would be willing to have a public defender that's present here in your court.
All right, and he is here. You're right about that. So I will appoint the public defender to represent you. That appointment, Mr. Prashur, is contingent upon his application and qualification. Mr. Baga, just to be clear, you're still free to hire a private lawyer if you choose to do that. Once you do that, the public defender would simply withdraw from your case. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay, so at least you have representation now. Now, the public defender who's in the courtroom has indicated that he wants to waive a formal reading of the 3 charges against you. That means he does not want me to articulate the nature of those charges. Do you understand his request?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Do you agree with that request?
I do.
Do I have to articulate the 3 charges, or do you understand what they are?
I understand what they are, Your Honor.
All right, so the defense request agreed upon by the defendant is to waive formal reading of the charges, and I will honor that request. I won't articulate those charges. I have read the paperwork. I do find probable cause. I think, Mr. Prashur, earlier you said you have no objection to a finding of probable cause. Is that true?
That's correct.
All right, so the remaining issue is bond or other conditions of pretrial release. Mr. Prashur. State.
Judge, I'm going to ask for, in terms of the amount, $100,000 per count. Part of the reason for that request is I think, argue Mr. Baga is a flight risk based on some of the information in the booking sheet. He, in a controlled phone call with the victim, talked about that he should just run away. He also, when the officers went to make contact with him at his residence, appeared to be home, did not answer the door, then got in his car, drove away, and they found that he had his dog packed his bags full of his possessions, had his passport in hand, and over $2,000 in cash, which would seem to suggest he was planning on going away, knowing that perhaps this was coming. So that's the basis for the monetary request of $100,000 account. I would also ask for GPS prior to the install, prior to his release, for him to have no contact with minors, as a condition of his bond, and that he surrender his passport and any and all travel documents prior to his release on bond, and if the court needs a separate order for that, I can provide it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Prashur, anything else from you?
Yes, sir, just to take it down, verify these.
Your Honor.
No, please don't, sir.
Okay, I won't then.
All right, sir, bond is $100,000 per count. Additional conditions include no contact with the alleged victim, no contact with any minor children, forfeit your passport and all other travel documents prior to release, and GPS prior to release. Mr. Stewart, I have a handwritten notation on the first appearance paperwork regarding the travel documents, but I will ask you to submit a written order to that effect as you offered.
Okay, I will do that.
And I also signed a no weapons order. Anything else from you, Mr. Stewart?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Prashur, anything else from you?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, that's it, Mr. Baga. Thank you. And I believe that completes our 24's docket. NJC, do you have anyone over there for 215?
No, Your Honor, they were both out of custody.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day. And Mr. Gergoza, I will take your case just as soon as Madam Clerk is ready. She's got to finish up with some paperwork. Oh, she's not here. Okay. All right.
Today I don't bring my phone.
Yeah, right. Okay.
No longer needed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Brasher. Have a good day. Okay. We do have a plea in absentia with Ms. Fish, which we can take while we're waiting, Mr. Gregoza, on your client. Madam Clerk is ready. Okay. All right, so Mr. Stewart, I'm going to call Ms. Fish. Okay, that was Miss Fish's answering machine. So we need Miss Fish and we need Mr. Gregoza's client.
I told her she's gonna be here too.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't know where she is because I didn't bring my phone today. So I think we could just reschedule the plea.
Is that what you want to do? I do have this other one I can try and do Miss Fish again. That might give you a few minutes.
I'll wait.
It's up to you.
I'd rather wait. I'd like to get it over with. Once again, you know, there's no jail. I could just find anybody played out. No jail, no
Yeah.
probation. So.
Let me try Miss Fish one more time and see if we can do that, okay?
Because I'm gonna go downstairs to the first floor. See if maybe she's waiting down there.
Okay, sounds good. Mr. Stewart, you still with us?
I am, Judge.
Okay, calling Miss Fish again. We're striking out here, Madam Clerk. So, Mr. Gregoza just left the courtroom to go downstairs to look for his client. Mr. Stewart, you want to take a recess and then I can call you back when he comes back into the courtroom? Or what?
That's fine. I'm just sitting at my desk working, so if you want to put me on hold, I'm fine with that as well. Whatever is best for you.
All right, well, why don't you stay with us and you can just mute us if you want to, and I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
Okay. I am gonna go into recess here. I'm not leaving, but we'll be in recess until we either get Ms. Fish or Mr. Gregoza. Mr. Stewart. I'm going to try Ms. Fish again. Okay, that's the third time we tried to call Ms. Fish and she hasn't answered. Mr. Stewart, I know that you indicated that this is a plea. There is a plea and absentia paperwork in the court file. Based on that, my inclination would be to go to 3-1 at 10 o'clock for a plea. Do you have any objection to that?
Or Judge, do you want me to reach out to her and see if we can do it tomorrow?
I don't mind if you do that, and we can always add it tomorrow, but in the meantime, I'd like to set it on that plea docket just in case you're unsuccessful.
Okay, that's fine, and I'll shoot her an email and let her know to reset it if she'd like.
Yeah, I think just leave it up to her. If she wants to try again, we can. So, Madam Clerk, Donald Yo, YOHE 20CT 2382 is set on the plea docket March 1 at 10 o'clock. Okay, Mr. Dragoza, that leaves us with you. All right, good afternoon, Miss Berry. Sure, thank you.
She was a staff in this case for the mark costs, investigation.
Adjudication all costs. Is there a no trespass order? All right, Mr. Stewart, do you agree with that?
I didn't hear Mr. Bergoza's rendition of the offer, so and then I can verify it.
I believe it's an adjudication, court cost, cost of prosecution, no trespass at Walmart.
And I see $150 fine.
Okay, and Mr. Stewart, do you know whether there's restitution? It's all been returned? It was all returned or at the time? Mr. Stewart, you agree?
I am yes, items were recovered.
Okay, ma'am, will you please raise your right hand, face the clerk to be sworn? Okay, you can put your hand down. What is your name, please? All right, Ms. Berry, again, this is a petty theft charge. The offer is an adjudication of guilt, $150 fine, plus court cost, cost of prosecution. You would have 90 days to pay that, and then no trespass at the Walmart located at 6650 Collier Boulevard in Naples. That's the offer. Do you understand all of that?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions? Would you like to accept that offer?
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty or no contest? All right, did you read and sign this plea form?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand everything that's explained on the plea form?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that by entering your plea today, you are waiving all of those rights? Do you understand that your plea will be used against you in a deportation proceeding if you are not a United States citizen?
Yes, sir.
Are you under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication? Theft is an enhanceable crime. If you commit this crime again, you may face higher fines, more jail time, and possibly a felony charge. Do you understand that? Mr. Dragoza, will you stipulate to venue in the factual basis contained in the discovery material? Thank you. Mr. Stewart, anything further from you?
Not on this case, Judge.
All right, ma'am, I will accept your plea, find it freely, voluntarily, knowingly entered upon a factual basis and in your best interest, adjudication, judgment, and sentence as I previously stated. Thank you, Ms. Berry, and good luck to you. Yes, sir. Let me check. Does he get paperwork here, Madam
Yes.
Clerk?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart, when you say not on this case, it makes me think maybe on another case, but I'm out of cases.
Well, can I ask what number you were trying this fish on?
After I finish the J&S here for this case, I'll pull it back up, okay? I don't remember off the top of my head. Adjudication, no trespass, 150, accept, yes, thank you. I can tell you it was the same number I used for pretrial conference this morning, which worked.
Because I emailed her and then she said, I've been sitting here doing nothing but waiting for the phone call. And then she gave me the number again, so I don't know what's going on,
Did
Judge.
she
But
give you 307-9695?
that's what she gave me.
That's the number I dialed 3 times.
Well, I'm just passing along the message.
Okay.
Oh, wait, son. Now she says she sees her phone is going straight to voicemail. She has no idea why. So it's nobody's fault. I guess she can reset it.
I agree it's nobody's fault, and I'm certainly not angry about it. It just didn't work. So we'll leave it as set 3-1, and like you said, Mr. Stewart, she's free to reset if she wants to.
Okay.
All right, so anything further to come before the court?
Not anymore, Judge.